Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello students, and the name of this topic is National Parks. Till now we have discussed the biosphere reserves as well as the wildlife sanctuaries. Now we will be discussing national parks. Students, these are the areas which are strictly reserved for the betterment of wildlife. These are reserved for betterment of wildlife. So students, wildlife sanctuaries were those areas in which we use that land for the increase in population of endangered species. These areas, national parks, are strictly reserved for the betterment of wildlife. Right? We need them to be healthy, we need them to grow better. So that is why these are reserved. The human activities like forestry, grazing, cultivation are prohibited in these areas. Right? Basically, hunting, poaching are still, obviously they are prohibited, but these are also prohibited. Then some important national parks are Jim Corbett National Park, which is in Uttarakhand, Kanha National Park in Madhya Pradesh, Palamau National Park in Jharkhand, Tudaba National Park in Maharashtra, and Simplipal National Park in Odisha. So these are some national parks located in 5 states of India. These are very important. Right? So you have to learn at least 3 examples, 3 names. Firstly Jim Corbett, secondly Kanha, and then Palamau. You can remember first 3. Alright? Now students, let us see what rock shelters are. Rock shelters are very interesting. This is basically a picture of a rock shelter. As you can see, there are some drawings done by a human being. As you know that an animal cannot draw or write, so these are drawn by ancient human beings. Rock shelters are also found in Satpura, which is in Panchmani Wildlife Sanctuary, Panchmani Biosphere Reserve. There is a Satpura National Park. Rock shelters are also found there. These are evidences of prehistoric human life in these jungles. Basically prehistoric human lives, which is ancient times we are talking about. These ancient people used to draw something when they used to live in rocks, right? So rock shelters were kind of homes to these humans, right? To protect themselves from rain, from heat, from animals, they used rock shelters. These give us an idea of the life of primitive people. Rock paintings are found in these shelters. A total of 55 rock shelters have been identified in Panchmani Biosphere Reserves. In Panchmani Biosphere Reserve, we have a total of 55 rock shelters, which is a very large number. Figures of animals and men fighting, hunting, dancing, and playing musical instruments are depicted in these paintings. Many tribals still live in the area. Basically, these tribals are still living. Their older generations used to be prehistoric humans, and they used to draw pictures of animals, men fighting, hunting, dancing, and playing musical instruments. So these are rock shelters which give us a proof of prehistoric human life. Right? Now coming to Project Tiger. What is Project Tiger? Project Tiger is a wildlife conservation project initiated in India in 1972. Basically, wildlife conservation project for tigers to protect Royal Bengal tigers. Basically, it has been specially launched to protect Royal Bengal tigers. There were approximately 40,000 tigers in India in 1900. But a tiger census in 1972 revealed that only 1824 tigers are now living. All other tigers, which were a total of 40,000 tigers, has reduced to 1824 tigers only. You can imagine the kind of loss. 38,000 something tigers have died because of causative factors, because of humans. So Project Tiger was launched in 1972 in order to protect these Royal Bengal tigers. National Tiger Conservation Authority, Rashtriya Vyadhr Sanrakshan Pradhikaran. This is the symbol of Project Tiger. Alright, it is very important for us Now, a number of tiger reserves were set up in various states to maintain tiger population in their natural environment. Basically, not only one, a number of tiger reserves were set up in various states across our country to maintain the tiger population in their natural environment. We need to give them natural favorable factors for them to increase their population. So that is what we did by increasing the number of tiger reserves so as to provide them with favorable factors. In 2007, there were more than 40 Project Tiger wildlife reserves covering an area of 37,761 kilometers square. The area is this much. It is a very huge area. Project Tiger helped to increase the tiger population to 3,500 in 1990s. So basically, in 1972, the population was 1824, and in 1990s, the population reached 3,500, almost the double, right? So basically, we have been successful in increasing their population by basically increasing the number of tiger reserves specially made for their protection. So this is what Project Tiger is, right? However, in spite of all these measures, 2008 census revealed that the tiger population had dropped to 1411 due to illegal poaching. Illegal hunting was going on in these reserves, due to which the population dropped from 3,500 to 1,411 in 2008 census. Now, Tiger Protection Force is being set up to combat poachers, and the efforts are paying off. Tiger Protection Force is basically utilized to combat the poachers, to make them go away and not kill the tigers. 2014 census has shown the increase in tiger population from 1706 in 2010 to 2226. In 2014, we noticed that the population increased to 2226. It is estimated that the number shall cross 3,000 during the 2018 count, right? So, we are basically trying to increase their population with the help of this Project Tiger, and we have been successful, but due to some illegal poaching, the number dropped drastically in 2008. After that, Tiger Protection Force was employed, with the help of which in 2014 census, it was noticed that in 2010, the population, which was 1706, increased to 2226 in 2014. So we are trying our best, and it is hopefully expected that in the 2018 count, if we count, the number will have crossed 3,000, right? Now, organizations for protection of wildlife. We have to study about organizations. Various organizations are making efforts for wildlife conservation. Some of them are, first one being WWF, which is Worldwide Fund for Nature. Second, basically this fund is collected and then distributed across the world for the protection of animals. Then IBWL, Indian Board of Wildlife. Third, MAB, which is Man and Biosphere Program. Fourth, IUCN, International Union Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, which is now known as WCU, which is World Conservation Union. Alright, so these are the organizations for protection of wildlife. Alright, first is WWF, Worldwide Fund for Nature. IBWL, Indian Board of Wildlife. MAB, Man and Biosphere Program. IUCN, International Union Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, which is now known as WCU, which is World Conservation Union. Now let us discuss Forest Acts. Government of India passes several forest acts which aim to preserve and conserve natural forests and meeting basic needs of people living in or nearby the forests. Basically, we need to protect the forests as well as the people living inside the forest or living nearby the forests. Wildlife Act was passed in 1972. Natural forest policy was passed in 1988. We will be discussing them in the last lecture again, right? Now these are some endangered species. We have discussed them in the last lecture only. Amur leopard and Wakita, which is basically a dolphin. Right? A dolphin kind of fish, you can say. Right? It is a dolphin kind of mammal. So these are some endangered species again. Now let us see some extinct species which are lost. We do not have these now. They cannot be retrieved. They are Tasmanian tiger and golden toad. Right? Now, are only big animals facing the extinction? No. We just saw that the golden toad is also extinct. And golden toad is not a big animal. It is a small animal. So, every kind of animal which is not living in favorable conditions is on the verge of extinction. Right? So, all kinds of animals are under extinction if we do not give them proper care. Now coming to the next thing, which is ecosystem. Look at the picture first of all. There is land, rock, right? There is seawater. There are different kinds of plants, different kinds of animals, different kinds of microorganisms, right? Sun, air, sea. So an ecosystem is made of all plants, animals and microorganisms in an area, along with the non-living components such as climate, soil and river deltas. Basically, in this system, we count everything from living to non-living, be it plants, animals and microorganisms, or be it non-living components such as climate, sun, area, air, river deltas. Everything is counted in ecosystems. Alright, so this is an ecosystem. Now, before going into the topic, let us see this question which asks, I wonder if there is any record of all the endangered species. If someone is counting, if some organization is counting the number of all the endangered species, is there any organization? Yes, there is a record which is being maintained to count all the endangered species. And this record is known as Red Data Books. Red Data Books. This Red Data Book records all the threatened species of plants and animals which are in danger of extinction. Right? Whichever species are in danger of extinction, they are all counted for plants and animals both. They are all counted and recorded in this book. Around 3,000 animals and 20,000 plants are recorded in these books. Imagine the number of endangered species present around us, which are 3,000 animals, 3,000 kinds of animals and 2,000 kinds of plants. These are the total number of endangered species of plants and animals, threatened species basically. Now, steps for conservation. There are some steps that can be used to prevent this huge number to be recorded in the Red Data Book. What are these steps? Awareness should be spread among the people about the importance of wildlife and its conservation. Basically, people are not aware, right? You live in your village, you live in your town. Nobody is concerned about the wild animals which are decreasing. So for everyone to know about this and to show concern about it, they must be aware, and awareness should be spread among the people about the importance of wildlife and its conservation. Right? Now, special acts and laws should be enforced for protecting wildlife. For example, activities such as poaching, hunting, right? And use of animals for different other purposes, for their skin, for their organs, for whatever reason. There should be strict laws which prevent these activities, which prohibit these activities. Strict laws which are basically supposed to maintain the quality of wildlife, maintain their health, maintain their number. So there must be special acts and laws. Deforestation and hunting should be strictly prohibited. Deforestation basically leads to the destruction of habitat, decrease in the availability of food. So deforestation and hunting should be strictly prohibited. Right? Now, special protected areas should be developed to protect all types of wildlife. Special protected areas should be developed, such as wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, and biosphere reserves. Right? These protected areas are meant to protect the wildlife only, so these ones should be developed. Plants and animals should be allowed to live freely in their natural habitats and not to be kept in zoo. We should always remember that in zoos there is no sense of keeping animals for humans to watch them, right? We can go to a wildlife sanctuary on a safari so that we can watch these animals. They should never be kept in a zoo, right? Migration. Students, you must have heard that during some seasons, during some time of the year, some birds migrate from one place to another, right? In order to increase their population, in order to lay eggs, or in search of food, they migrate every year. So this procedure of animals migrating from one place to another in some period of time, in some basically some season or some specific time, is known as migration. There are a few examples that we will be discussing as well. Let us start with the definition first. Migration refers to the regular seasonal journeys undertaken by many animals. Basically, as I told you, these are regular seasonal journeys. First of all, they are seasonal. That means if some animal is traveling in winter only, it will always travel in winter. It will never travel in summers. Right? So that is one thing, that if animal is traveling in one season, it will always travel in that particular season. And it is undertaken by many animals. Migrations include movements of varied distances made in their response to change in food availability, habitat, or weather. Students, imagine that you are an animal. Being an animal, what will you do? That you cannot live in Rajasthan during summers, right? You will move to some other place for the availability of food, for proper weather, and for a good habitat, that is forests. But when it is very cold, then you require to be living in a hot area. So then you move again back to Rajasthan area, right? So this is the common sense behind it, that according to the availability of food, habitat, and the good conditions of weather, these animals voluntarily change their habitat. Basically, they move from one place to another in order to exist and to have good food, to avail good habitat and to avail good weather conditions, right? They fly for laying eggs when the weather in their natural habitat becomes very cold and inhospitable. Basically, in case they are laying eggs and the weather is not hospitable, it is either very cold or very hot or very windy, they require to be in a very hospitable environment, for which they migrate. Whales, fishes, butterflies, turtles, and birds are migratory animals. Which are these? Whales, fishes, butterflies, turtles, and birds. These five are migratory animals. These animals migrate from one place to another whenever the conditions in their habitat become inhospitable. So in the search of food, for food availability, for a good habitat, and for good weather conditions, they move from one place to another, which is a seasonal journey, regular seasonal journey, which means that every season they move to some other place, and after the season completion, they move back to the original place. Alright, so this is migration, and this is done by certain animals, which are whales, fishes, butterflies, turtles, and birds. Right? Recycling paper. Students, why do we need to recycle paper? We will be studying that in this lecture, that we need to recycle paper. It is very important for us. Students, to make paper, we need wood. We obtain paper from wood itself. We need to cut down forests for the production of books, notebooks, etc. Whatever thing utilizes paper, whatever thing is made up of paper is made from wood only, right? So what is required to make paper? It takes about 17 trees to make 1 ton of paper. To make 1 ton of paper, we require 17 trees, which is a very huge number for just 1 ton of paper, which is nothing for such a huge population. We basically use thousands of tons of paper. So imagine for thousands of tons of paper, we are basically cutting down minimum 17,000 trees, right? So this is a huge loss to our environment, to our wildlife, to everyone. Basically, we will be lacking the amount of oxygen. The pollution that is increasing around us will never come to a balance because we are cutting down trees everywhere. So in order to reduce our usage, we must recycle paper, right? Recycling of paper is one of the best options to minimize cutting of forests for paper. If we recycle the same paper, we are not cutting down any new trees. We are utilizing that paper again. So recycling of paper is a very important process that will help in conservation of environment. Now the advantage with paper is that a paper can be recycled 5 to 7 times. A paper can easily be recycled 5 to 7 times. So we should always do this. We should always recycle paper, right? So as to conserve the trees present around us. This also saves us from the hazardous effects of chemicals used in making paper. While making paper, there are a number of toxic and hazardous chemicals which are utilized. Now the people working in paper factories are especially in danger due to those hazardous chemicals. Their skin, their body organs can be hurt due to these chemicals. So if we recycle paper, we are not getting involved into those chemicals again and again. So we are saving ourselves also. So recycling paper is very important for many reasons. First reason being for the conservation of forests and trees. Secondly, for the conservation of humans from the hazardous effects of chemicals used. Right? Reforestation. So this reforestation is very important for us. Let us see what reforestation is. Restocking of forests by planting new trees is known as reforestation. Students, we use trees for many purposes. We have studied in this chapter only that deforestation takes place for many human purposes. So if we are utilizing trees, we have the responsibility. The responsibility is on us to grow new trees, to plant new trees. So the restocking of forests basically by populating the forests again, by growing trees again at the area of a forest which we have already cut down because of our requirements, is known as reforestation. And how do we restock the forests? By planting new trees, right? As you can look at the picture, here people are trying to restock the forests. Reforestation is taking place, and it is very important, students. This is an advice to you that you should always try to plant one tree once a year to contribute to the growth of trees around the world, because it is very important for us to decrease the population and increase the amount of trees and greenery around us, which is very, very helpful to us only, right? It is beneficial to us only to have trees around us because it leads to a healthy living. So reforestation is very, very important to us. The planted trees should generally be the same species which were found in that forest. For example, there was a forest which had pine trees, and these pine trees were cut for paper and furniture. Right, basically we cleared the forest for our requirements. So if we go to restock the forest, the plant grown there should again be the pine trees. This was just an example. Basically this tells us that if we are taking out some plants and if we want to restock the forest, we should plant the same kind of plants again, right? The planted tree should generally be of the same species which were found in the forest. We should plant at least as many trees as we cut. If we are cutting 10 trees, then we must at least plant 10 trees or more. If possible, plant even more trees, right? Reforestation can take place naturally also, right? Naturally also it can take place because there are seeds or leaves present in the forest all the time. So reforestation may take place by nature itself, right? You may not go to restock the forest. It may get restocked by itself. If the deforested area, if is left undisturbed, it reestablishes itself. If the deforested area in which you have cut down the trees is left undisturbed, it reestablishes itself, which means that it regrows itself, it restocks itself. The trees will grow back by themselves only, naturally. In natural reforestation, there is no role of human beings. We have already caused tremendous damage to our forests. If we have to retain our green wealth for future generations, plantation of more trees is the only option. Basically, we need to do sustainable development in which we are able to conserve the natural resources for the coming generations. So we must focus on sustainable development so that the natural resources do not become extinct, right? Now comes Forest Conservation Act. What is this act? This act aims to preserve and conserve natural forests and meeting basic needs of people living in or nearby the forests. In this act, we are basically focusing on the forest plants to preserve them, to conserve them, and to also help the people living inside that forest or nearby those forests, right? Now, Wildlife Act was passed in 1972 and National Forests Policy was passed in 1988. These two acts basically are again responsible for the preserving wildlife and humans living near or inside the forest area, such as tribal people, right? These acts focus on the conservation of natural forests and meeting the basic needs of people living in or nearby the forests, right? So this was the last topic of this chapter.